Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. This is a totally different block than what we have been doing this whole year. For one thing, it's a 30-inch block, and I've never made it before. It's based on a math equation or a math principle or something, but I saw the picture in some kind of math, I don't know, in some kind of math thing that they were doing, and they explained what it was, and I didn't even want to go look it up, but I just thought it was so pretty. So this will either be really fantastic once it's finished, or it'll be a big dud. We'll see. It's just 2 fabrics, and it finishes 30 inches by 30 inches. For binding fabric, you'll need 1/4 yard. There are a lot of different pieces to cut, but they're all easy, rectangles and squares. Here are the fabric and cutting. For the background, you need 1 yard, and you're going to cut all these strips and subcut them, and these are the patches here that tell you where it goes. And the accent fabric, the same thing. You need about 1 yard for the accent fabric, and then they're cut here. Almost everything is the same between the two. Some of the background is more in one patch than the other, and vice versa. So just follow the lines. Like this one says cut 1 strip 6.5 inches and subcut the following. So you'll have all these different ones off of that 1 strip. Okay, now here is a big chart I made, and it's the block diagram. It's laid out in a grid of 5 by 5, and let's see, you can only see part of it here. The first are the columns. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then these are the rows, A, B, C, D, E. So to look at it, like this unit is A1, and this unit is C3. We're going to cut the fabrics, and then here are the 5 steps. First, going to make all the half square triangles. There's 3 different sizes of half square triangles. Then we'll put together these units, and I have them separated down here. There are 10 units total. 9 of the units you only make 1. And there's one other one here where you make 16, this very last one. So here are all my patches cut. As I cut them, I put a little sticky on there that says this is patch A, B, C, and it goes from A through G. I cut the backgrounds first, and I put those down and then put their little tag on there. And then when I came and cut the accent fabric, I added them to the correct pile. If you have cut them and you need to put your project away, if you have like a Ziploc bag or a sandwich bag or some compartmental thing, you can put them in. That would help because they're very close in size. This is 6.5 inches, this is 5.5, 4.5, 3.5, like that, and it's easy to get them confused. We have mostly rectangles. A, B, D, E, and F are all 1.5 inch rectangles. H are 2.5 inch rectangles. We have 3 sets of half square triangles, and then 1 set of squares. I believe the G is square. For step 1, we're going to take the J patches, and that is the big triangle, half square triangle in the center. And we just have 1 of them. So we put these together like this, fold it over, match all 3 sides, and stitch 1/4 inch. Press your seams open. So that is J. Then we also have the I patches, and we're going to do these 2 at a time half square triangles, and we will make 8 of these. So we have 4 of the accent squares and 4 of the background squares. So 8 of these, and that's I. And then the last one we have C, which is the smallest half square triangle, and we're going to make 20 of these. Very small, tiny half square triangles. So let's go and stitch all the half square triangles now. On the back side of the light fabric, we're going to draw a diagonal line, put the fabrics together, right sides together, and we're going to stitch on either side of the diagonal line. Here is the diagonal line drawn, and then the stitching on both sides. Now we cut this in half along the diagonal line. Then we have our 2 half square triangles. Press the seams open and cut off the nubs. Our half square triangles are done. and they're pressed open. When I do the half square triangles 2 at a time, I use a scant 1/4 of an inch, especially with these little bitty ones. These C patches measure right now 1.5 inches, and they finish at 1 inch. So you want to make sure that you get that right. If you're not sure you can do that with the smaller one, then cut it 2 inches and sew it, and then trim it down to 1.5 inches. And the same thing with I, and J is a little bit bigger. Next, I want to start working on all of the units that have these half square triangles in them. If we look at our chart down at the bottom, these are the individual units we'll make. This is A5, and it has triangles, half square triangles in it. B4, C3, D2, and E5. So these top 5 all have the half square triangles in it. And I'm going to start with C3 just because it's easier. It has the bigger half square triangle in it. The shaded areas on here are the accent fabric, and the unshaded areas are the background fabric. So we'll just lay this out. And this one has the J half square triangle. There's only one of those. So we'll lay this out, and I'm just looking at the diagram exactly how it is. And there is a background B patch at the top. And then a D patch on the side background. Then we have one of our C half square triangles goes here, and another C half square triangle goes up here. Oh, see, this goes like this. Okay. Then we have a D accent fabric. It goes here. And then a B accent fabric goes down here. So here is the unit. It's the B go at top and bottom. Then we have our little half square triangles on the corners, and then the D units go on the sides. So how I would sew this is first sew these two together and these two. Press the seams open. Sew these 3, press the seams open. Then sew this to the top and this to the bottom. And every time you start sewing something together, make sure you look at your diagram and that it's exactly how it should be. So let's go stitch this one. Here's our finished unit. Now this should be 6.5 inches unfinished. Right now it should be 6.5 inches. I'm taking my 6.5 inch ruler and lay it on with the diagonal line across, and I see I have a little bit of trimming to do. So I'm going to do that now. And there we have our first one of 25 is finished. I'm going to mark this now. If we look at our little chart, this is C3. So I'm going to mark it C3. C3 and put a pin. And I'll put a pin at the top because that means this is the top part of the block of the unit. Now I'm just going to start on this one for A5. We do this the same way. We're just going to lay it out and then stitch it together. Oh, here it's kind of wonky looking, but we always check it. So this is a B, a C. These are 2 F's, G, I, G. Oh, I forgot the D. So we need a D like this. Okay, now it looks a little bit better. Piece these 2 together, then piece these 3 together down here. Then I would piece this 4 patch unit, piece these 2 together. You just look and see what comes next, and then piece these 2 to the sides and these 2. So I'll show you those so you can get an idea, because I'm not going to show you every unit, but I'll show you how I piece this unit in steps. And here is this one. It's trimmed up, so it's A5. We'll write A5 and pin it to the top. Now just go through each one of these at the top so you can check these off. So C3 is done and A5 is done. And do the ones at the top and do the ones at the bottom. The very last one, you will make 16 of those. Now I'll go do all of mine and come back. Here's the finished block on the design wall. And I changed a little bit of how I put it together, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. I think the jury is still out, though, on if I like it or if it's a dud. I like it because it's finished and it's still kind of interesting. It's not as good as I thought it would be, let's just say. But I'm happy with it because it's finished. I'll probably quilt it or just give it away like I do all of my blocks. Here it is closer and on the table. It went together pretty well. What I did though, I got a little bored with doing one block at a time. I went ahead and the block that I had to make 16 of, which is this block here, I went ahead and just chain pieced all of 16. And then I decided to start doing one row at a time. So I started with row 1, and then if I had to make one of these, I made it. Then I sewed it together. Then went to row 2, and I had to make 2 blocks on row 2. Then I made those, and I put it together and sewed it on here. So I just did that all the way down. There's 5 rows. And that went a little faster, or a little better. I was totally bored before how I was doing it and how I was describing for you earlier in the video. But anyway, what this is supposed to do is this line here is supposed to be a square that's cut in the designs. That's, if you can look and follow this line, it's a big square. And then here comes this diagonal that cuts it across. And then if you look down here, there's another square that cuts it across. It definitely looks better when you look at it from a distance, or when you point these pieces out, you can see it. Anyway, that's enough of that. And it turned out nice. I don't know what to think about it. It's okay, it's just okay. So anyway, let me show you the back. Here's the back. And thanks for listening to my rambling, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.